begin. First, what I'd like to do is make sure we have a quorum. So I'm just going to do a roll call for our attendance to see who's present. And Carrie?
I'm here.
Eric?
Here.
Francine?
Here.
Scott?
Present.
And Sonia, myself, present. That's all 5 of us. So we're good to go. And as this is a work session, we just need to call the meeting to order. We'll do the pledge and then we will get going. So Chris, go ahead if you can share our flag. Okay, and if we can stand and recite with me, just because my sound may not be the best. So if we can all just stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So first I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for everyone for being able to make this evening. And I'm going to just go over the game plan for tonight, so we're all on the same page. So first, if I can just ask everyone to, it's tough we forget sometimes, but if you can try to remember to mute yourselves, except for when you're speaking, because we've all done it and we all get the background noise, and I apologize for anything that's going to be background noise while I'm talking. So that's first, and I'll just kind of go over how this is how we're going to run through this evening. So you will each have 1 minute to state your name and just provide a little bit about yourselves. And we're going to go through questions, so there'll be plenty of time for you guys to talk about a lot of different things, but just kind of your name and a little bit about yourselves in 1 minute or less. And we're going to do this alphabetically by last name. So I'll keep track of that and I'll prompt who's next, kind of as a reminder, so you know you're up next. But there'll be 7 questions this evening, and kind of like when they do meet the candidates, each person will have the opportunity to go first in answering a question, and then we'll go through the rest of the panel. And you'll have 2 minutes to answer each of those questions. And then we will do a closing statement, closing remarks or comments or anything you'd like to finish up with. And we'll allow 2 minutes for that. And that's kind of it. It's pretty easy. The last thing I'll just share now up front, and I'll remind everyone at the end again later, the community can go to our district website anytime from now until August 4th. And under the Board of Education page, there's a tab for trustee search, and there you will find a link where you can share comments for the board's consideration. We'll be to come to its final determination, and at the August 18th board meeting, we will publicly announce the 2 candidates chosen, and we will have the candidates sworn in that evening. So I think I covered it all. If at any time if anyone on the board thinks I forgot something, please by all means jump in there and let me know. Okay, so I think that's good. Okay, so first step, we will start with Cynthia Fox, if you'd like to share your opening remarks. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing. We have, you will be noticed, the screen will be shared right now, like around 15 seconds, to wrap up your comments. When we go to the questions where you have to answer, the screen will be shared with a timer, and you will see that you have 30 seconds left at that time. So you should start kind of wrapping up your thoughts at that time. And if you need, please don't be afraid to ask. Okay, so Ms. Fox.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Hi, everyone. I am Cynthia Fox. I grew up here. I am a Brewster graduate. My family is here. My extended family is here. I am super honored to have this opportunity to have you get to know me. I am also a public school educator. I'm a first grade teacher and have been for 17 years. I am also an ICT teacher, inclusive co-teach, and I have always believed so strongly in teaching the whole child, whole brain learning, social emotional learning, and really just what does that mean for every single child, and making sure that every single child gets what they need and feels safe and comfortable. So I'm so excited to just have you get to know me a little bit. I have 3 children. A 6th grader, a 3rd grader, and a kindergartner. I've worked with the district on many different task force and things, and I'll be happy to talk about that further.
You're muted, Sonia.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Alejandra Gill.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Alejandra Gill. I have 2 children in the district. One's going into 4th grade, one's going into 7th grade. My husband Andres and I moved here about 10 years ago. And my husband has a law practice in Brewster, and I'm also an attorney. I did not grow up in Brewster. We're somewhat new to the community. But I think that in our time here, we've developed some strong ties to the community. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board and everybody that's watching about what I feel I can contribute to assist in the district's progress towards the goals that are already in place and that everybody is working towards. And that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up is Corey Hart.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay, good. Well, thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Board of Education members, for giving me the opportunity to interview for this. But I've been living in the community for 22 years. I have 3 children, one who has graduated, one entering his senior year, another one that's entering 6th grade. I work in the insurance industry. I manage a team from Florida up to Maine. It includes a lot of duties that I feel that could enable me to contribute, to the Board of Ed. I know currently that the Board of Ed is looking for people who can contribute and bring new ideas. I've seen the Board of Ed, the district, grow over the last 23 years, and I think I could be an asset to not only help with that growth, but also connect with the community at large through the way I like to engage with people. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up is Daisy Jimenez. Please anyone correct me if I'm saying anyone's name incorrectly.
I'm sorry, Sonia, you got cut off a little bit.
Okay.
So my name is Daisy Jimenez Vasquez. I am a part of the Brewster High School graduating class of 2009. I am also a first generation bilingual Hispanic student. My parents chose to live in Brewster because they had a vision for their children to succeed and receive a good education, and that's what Brewster gave us. At an early age, I would help translate and advocate for my parents and also my siblings, so we ensure that their voices were being heard. I would attend parent-teacher conferences and open house. I pursued a higher education and received a master's degree in social work at Fordham University. And I am currently working in the community at Putnam Community Action Partnership as the services coordinator. I am also involved with the reentry subcommittees for the Bilingual Vision Committee and also the Digital Equity. And I am the corresponding secretary for the Brewster High School PTSA. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Amy, can you help me with your last name?
Of course, it's Taninga.
Taninga, okay, great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Taninga. I've been a resident of Brewster for just over 10 years. My daughter has attended CV Star, JFK, CV Star, H.H. Wells, and now is in Brewster High School. We've remained in the district despite our jobs changing a little bit over the years because of the excellent teachers and the excellent school system. And I'm a scientist and educator. I work every day to make opportunities available to students from all backgrounds. I've worked at many universities across the country and in New York and New Jersey, and I've taught microbiology and ecosystem ecology and done research in environmental fields. Recently, I've been more involved with administration and building inclusive programs and opportunities for high school through graduate school students coming from diverse backgrounds in all disciplines. I have built these together with partnerships through corporations, academic institutions, and communities. And so I value the community in Brewster and dedicated my life to education, and I'm really looking forward to contributing more. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up is Leonor Volpe.
Hello all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Leonor Volpe. I've worked in the district for 20 years. I've also lived in the district for 22 years. I've had 4 boys go through the school system, and they've all graduated from Brewster High School. I am now currently holding a position in Mahopac Central School District as Supervisor of Transportation, so I can bring some insight from a different district into the Brewster Central School District. I've been a PTA president. I've also contributed into some of the programs that the PTA has brought to CV Star and Henry H. Wells. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope to speak further.
Great, thank you. Okay, and next up is Jason Whitehead.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. My name is Jason Whitehead. Good evening, President, members of the board. Me and my family moved here from the Bronx approximately about 9-10 years ago. We moved here because we wanted a great school district, diverse school district, and we found that in Brewster. In fact, when we moved here, we knew a few people who told us great things about Brewster. In fact, one of my coworkers at the Bronx DA's office actually brought me up here and showed us around, and my wife and I loved it, and we moved here. I coach in the community. I've coached kids for the last 6-7 years. I also play in the men's league with a lot of the dads. Some say I need to hang it up, but I'm a former prosecutor in the Bronx. I've done that. I did that for 8 years. I just hope to become more involved in the community and bring those skills to the board. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. And now we will get into the questions. So just give me a moment. Okay, and so first question will go to Ms. Fox, and Mr. Grutzner, take it away.
Good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. So first of all, congratulations to all of you, and thank you all for your interest in joining the board. My question is this. Every year there is an opportunity to run for the school board. Why did you choose to apply at this time for a seat on the BOE rather than run for office in May? And what experience or event was the greatest factor in your decision to apply at this time?
Okay, thank you. I have been following the board very closely, I would say for about almost the past years, coming to board meetings and getting involved in task forces and, you know, speaking with the administration about ways to make the school better. And I had thought about it, and I think my biggest hesitation was, quite honestly, the whole process and the interviewing and the publicness. So I was nervous about that. But I feel like with the events that are happening and with being an educator who is in the first line right now in the classroom, or, you know, in the virtual classroom with students, teaching from my home with my own children here, and really in the thick of what's going on right now, I felt like we really need strong leadership for our community right now, with people who are in it, see it firsthand, and can have different perspective as a parent, as a school employee, and just bring it back to the community. I also think it's so important to move our community forward and have us heal in a direction that is going to be great for all students to feel welcome, comfortable, that they can be whoever they want to be, and that we can empower all students, family, to be really the best that they can be, and have Brewster be the diverse, equitable community that we all want to have our families grow up in.
Okay, thank you. Next up will be Alejandra Gill.
So much like Cynthia, the process of running is intimidating. So that's certainly one of the reasons why I hadn't run for a position in the past. And just events recently with going into distance learning because of COVID, that gave me the opportunity to be more involved with my children's education, especially with my third grader, helping him through the whole process, and also seeing how my sixth grader, how the distance learning was being managed for him and how he was adapting to that. And also just because I was working from home, obviously I had more time and more opportunity to be more directly involved in their education. And while I believe there are many ways that the district handled distance learning well, there were some issues that I think, you know, could be considered for improvement. And I think as parents, we can get complacent and just kind of sit back and criticize. But if we're not willing to get involved and be part of the solution, then I think we kind of lose a little bit of credibility when we step in to criticize. So just having more time now certainly is a motivating factor. And also just recent events in our district and in our country dealing with inequity. And I know this is an issue that the board and the district has been dealing with even before the events with Ms. Berardi, but that's certainly opened my eyes up to how it's being handled in our district and how our community is reacting to what's happening. And I think there's work that needs to be done. And I believe every community member can contribute towards the solution. And I would like to be one of the people doing that. And what better way than to be directly involved with the board and administration in achieving that goal.
Great, thank you so much. Corey Hart, you're up next.
Thank you. So I've always had an interest in terms of running for the board. I even had a little bit of an interest this year in running for the board when I knew that there was going to be a vacant seat. Quite honestly, COVID-19 kind of derailed it. For me at work, there was a lot of demands at work that actually got into the way of me putting the energy to run for the board. But I definitely am not only looking to fill this immediate void, but I'm also looking to run for a 3-year term come next May. So right now I'm committed to a long-term commitment with the board, as well as you know, the distance learning, seeing my children going through it at the college level as well as in the high school level, as well as in elementary level. I saw a few disconnects, you know, between how the different levels of school was handling it. And in watching it, I have some ideas, some innovative ways of trying to bring that and elevate that to the board to try to see if there's a different way of approaching it, as well as the recent events, similar to Alejandra, the recent events really encouraged me to step up now and say, look, you know, I want to make a difference. I want to be a face of equity. I want to be a face of diversity. And I think I could build some of those bridges within the community to be a platform and a forum to discuss have some of the tough discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Daisy Jimenez Vasquez, you're up next.
Thank you. So I have a younger brother who is entering his senior year this coming September, and I also have a 4-year-old daughter who will be entering kindergarten the following school year. So again, I've been very active with my brother's education, and now that I have my own daughter, I just want to learn more. And when this opportunity came, I thought it was a sign that I should go ahead and go for it. I have been on other committees in the past, and I know the commitment that there is, and I am willing to do that. Also, what everybody else has already spoken about, I was happy to learn that the budget had passed for the bilingual plan for the CV Star, and I feel that equity is we're progressing there. We're going to be partnering up with NYU. I think that's going to be a great thing for our district. Our district is amazing. The community is great. And having people on the board like yourselves doing a fantastic job is wonderful. Having more people there is even better. We're a district that I have nothing but amazing things to say. And if I can give more to that, then for all beings, I am open to it. And being able to bring my ideas, my background, me working in the community, I feel like I have a lot of potential to give to the district.
Thank you. Okay, up next is Amy Taninga.
Hi, thank you. So I had been thinking about serving on the board for a long time, and my job is pretty intensive as far as time commitments. So it was sort of a confluence of different factors that have come together for me. I have served on the Science Task Force, so I've been contributing a little bit, but obviously now with COVID, I've got some more time, but other things have opened up because I build programs that train people in diversity and inclusion and train students in career readiness, but also sustainability and sciences. And we have shifted to online, and so that's opened up my schedule a little bit, but we've also received pretty significant funding recently for these programs, and that's allowed me to not have to spend quite as much extra time stabilizing funding sources. And so I have a little more time now, but I just feel that where we are with the conversations in the community, my background and training, I just felt like it's time for me to contribute what I know and what I do on a daily basis. I think is something that's very much needed right now. So coupled with the STEM and the STEM learning, I think the diversity and inclusion training and the opportunities for students to progress into different kinds of jobs than what they might have ever seen from any of their role models is something that I can offer. So I'm safe space trained, so it extends to gender and gender diversity as well, the kinds of things that we do. So I just feel like it's a good time for me to contribute to the school district. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up is Leonora Volpe.
Sorry, this muting is a little difficult. I wasn't able to get on the board or even try to get on the board because I work for the district. Now that I am at a different district, I thought it would be best for me to try to get on the board. due to the recent events, it brought to my attention on the diversity that we would kind of need in the district. I love the district. It was great for my children, and I think that with my background in the school district, working at Brewster and now working in Mahopac, I can bring some insight into the Brewster board. Sorry, I'm lost for words right now.
It's okay. Yeah, it's fine. Just take a breath. And if there's anything else you want to add, go ahead. And if you're good, we can go on.
Yeah, that is all that I.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, and next up is Jason Whitehead.
All right. For me, it was a progression. Again, I've been up here for almost 10 years. I've always been, before moving up here, I've always been involved in the community. I used to go around the Bronx and speak at high schools to kids about careers in law and in their interactions with police. I was a mentor at the Eagle Academy High School in the Bronx. And then when I got up here, I started coaching for a number of years. So it was basically a progression. There was a couple of incidents with my younger son who was going into the 8th grade in terms of being called racial epithets, and which made me be on the 2017 Unity Committee. And now this just presented a unique opportunity for me to get on the board. And also, I also intend to run for a 3-year position as well. Basically, it wasn't enough for me to be in a great school district. I had to progressively become more and more involved. I did that with coaching, getting to know a lot of kids and parents, and it would be my honor to do that on the school board. And also to have a seat at the table, to really have a seat at the table. I did not grow up with a lot of money. Again, at the last forum, I explained that, my mom grew up as a sharecropper, which is basically an extension of slavery in North Carolina. I'm basically a first-generation college student. My mom got her associates, just because she worked at Ostos and got a free college education. I think you need people with my background with a seat at the table, so that in every discussion that we have on the board, I can interject and make sure that people that come from where I come from can give their opinions and explain, why, I think, or, we need to take certain actions. And that would go together with everybody else's opinion. Again, like John Mill, on Liberty says, you have to have everybody's opinion to be heard. And I'm that person that can bring a certain opinion from my background. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we now move on to our second question of the evening. We are going to begin with Alejandra Gill, and Scott, take it away.
Alrighty. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking this time and showing interest at this time. I know it's a lot to take on, especially in this format, and we appreciate that. Excuse me, I'm going to have to read right off the thing. With all the issues related to social media, what are your thoughts on social media usage for yourself, as well as for usage by the board, the administration, teachers, and students?
Thank you, Mr. Seaman, for that question. There's a lot to consider when it comes to usage of social media. I mean, we see it in the news every day. There's First Amendment rights that we need to keep in consideration. As far as board members and educators, we need to be aware that children are on social media, that parents are on social media, and their kid might be standing over their shoulder when they're on Facebook, and they can see what's being posted. So while I recognize that everyone has a First Amendment right to express their opinions in that format, I think when you're in an elected position, a position in the administration, a teacher, you need to be cognizant of how your expressions are perceived by everybody. You know, and just because of the way the format is, there's so many ways that things can be misconstrued or misinterpreted and blown out of proportion. And then you could post something and then it leads to 20 comments from the community that just stirs the pot and just makes it even worse than the initial post. So while I don't think there's a way to tell board members, no, you can't post that, it certainly is something that needs to be considered when members of the board or members of the administration are using social media, and how what is put out there can affect the way your opinions are perceived in a board meeting or your instruction is perceived as a teacher. I think it's just very important that we conduct ourselves on social media the way we would face-to-face. And if you're not going to say, you know, something you put on Facebook to someone's face, then it shouldn't go up, regardless of whether or not you have a legal right to do so. So that's my position on that.
Okay, thank you. Corey Hart, you're next.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Speak up a little, maybe.
So, okay, thank you. Is that better? I don't know this headphones, but you know, in today's climate, I mean, we're living with social media. Social media is not going anywhere. We have to live and abide by how we utilize social media. So social media could be an actual benefit, you know, to our district, as well as it could be it could go very bad. But I'm not a social media guy, but I think that we have to put code of conduct in place if someone from the district or someone from the admin.
Hey, Corey, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Corey, can you hear me?
Media, I think social media is also a great way of connecting with the community, connecting with the parents. As of right now, I think there's a good use of it. You know, coming from the school district in terms of alerts. If something's happening at the school in terms of alerts, in terms of what's going on, the latest news at school. So I think social media could benefit us. I can hear you. I can hear you. Let me see if I can call in. Can you hear me? Hear me or no?
I hear you now, but your screen looks frozen now. Okay. I'm not sure if everyone else is hearing it the same way. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think he said he wanted to call in maybe. Can we add him as a caller?
Yeah, we can. Corey, do you want to try that?
Should we go to maybe the next person and then come back to Corey if he gets on?
Okay. Let me just check. Corey, are you there by chance?
Because there's 4 people in the attendees as phone numbers. I don't know if he's one of them.
No. Okay, so who's not muted right now? Is everybody muted? So wait, Kira, you said you hear us on your cell phone, but I don't know if we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm on cell phone. Can you hear me?
We hear you on the phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm here.
I don't know if he's going to log out of the meeting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
Well,
Corey, honey, can you maybe log out and try to come back in, and we're gonna go to the next person, and then we'll try to see where you're at after the next person answers, okay? Because we're still not hearing you quite well. Okay, so Scott, I'm gonna have you repeat the question in a second. So who's up next? Okay, Daisy, you're up next. If Scott, you could please repeat the question. And again, at any time, if anybody needs a question repeated, please just ask. We're to participate, and we're fine with sharing again. So, all right, Scott, go ahead.
Okay. With all the issues related to social media, what are your thoughts on social media usage for yourself, as well as for usage by the board, administration, teachers, and students?
So I think for myself and for myself, I'll start there. What you put on Facebook has to be something that you will know that somebody will see at a later date. I remember my teachers in high school would say that Facebook had just started when I was in high school, and I guess at that time, we really didn't think anything from social media would come about. Saving posts that you may have got deleted, coming up now in college interviews, in workforces. And I think as you have more knowledge, you're being looked up to. You're somebody that people are seeing you as a role model, and that's who you need to portray yourself when you're in the community, when you're posting on social media. I think we all have our bad days, and I think there should be other forms of coping with those feelings to release that anxiety, to release those angers, those emotional feelings that you have. As an administrative, same thing. I think we have to be a role model for the kids. But I also think those students, in a way, they do connect with the teachers when they connect on social media, when they're on the same level as them, knowing maybe they're Snapchatting what they're doing on the weekend, and building a relationship with them, knowing that they are normal people. They're not just working when they're in school. They have normal lives.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Amy Taninga, you're up next.
Thank you. So, as an educator, we're held to ethical standards. As a scientist, we're held to ethical standards. And so I would just think that social media should be an extension of those ethical standards that we need to hold ourselves to, and that especially those serving in public situations should be held as an example and serving as a model. We train students in professional use of social media. We train them that, any future employer can look back and see what you've done for your whole life. It doesn't go away. You can never delete things from the internet. So it can pop up at some point in the future. So we train people on that, but it is a type of communication, and it extends to bullying and connecting with people and learning how to connect properly. And especially right now in the time of COVID, when we're all socially distanced and, you know, living in our homes, it's a little bit hard because we're relying a little bit more on social media to connect. But just like small children are testing the boundaries of what's right and what's wrong, I think we need to be better models and offer opportunities for students to learn about what these boundaries are around social media and what's okay and what's not. And it extends to this whole, you know, how we treat each other and how we communicate with each other in a way that's respectful. And I think that's putting people together and having them work on projects together and having them communicate in a positive way and test those boundaries in safe space. Is how we go about creating a more positive turn on this. And it is difficult right now, but I think that we all need to hold ourselves up as a role model to our children, to our communities, and to be the best people that we can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Leonor Volpe, you're up next.
Thank you. Social media that's a difficult subject because I'm not for it, though I have social media, but it's really a good way of communicating with everyone. The meetings, you know, social media everyone is on social media, so it's always a good way to communicate and inform people of what's going out there. You know, it's just like email. When you're sending an email out and people read it, sometimes they misconstrued on how you are presenting that email. It's the same with social media. We have to learn how to communicate properly in social media so that it's not misconstrued, which is a very big topic on recent events. I think we can utilize it in a best way and teach our children, just like Amy says, teach everyone, not just the children, teach everyone on how to use social media to benefit everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jason Whitehead.
Hi, yes, my thoughts on the use of social media for me and for the board. I believe that if the board wants to increase its visibility, I think doing it through social media, I think could be a good thing. I'm not a fan of, you know, regulating anybody's speech on social media. However, I guess one thing I'd point out is that, you know, if somebody's going to put something, before somebody pushes that button and posts something, if they have to think that, you know, there might be something on here that might offend somebody, if you even entertain that thought, then maybe you shouldn't press send. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is, you know what, if you're gonna press send, then you do have a First Amendment right and freedom of speech, but you don't have a right, but you're also gonna have, you're not gonna be free from consequences of that speech. So I think, just like one of the other panelists said, we have to, we have to be ethical about what we put on social media. But I think it could be very good for the board to be on social media, as long as we have ethical standards. Again, you know, yes, people have their First Amendment rights to speech. And again, I don't want to regulate anybody's speech. I just think we have to be personally responsible in terms of what we put on. And again, if you have an inkling that something might offend somebody, why do it? Why press the button just because you have a right to do it? But again, I think it would be great for the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Cynthia Fox.
When I think about social media for myself, I do have social media. I have Facebook. I, always made sure that I represent myself in a way that I would, no matter who was watching me, no matter who was reading it, my parents, my children, my students, my community members. I also would make sure that social media fully represents me wholeheartedly. So I wouldn't just impulse post something. I think for the board as well, it could be great, like the other panelists were saying, for communication. for transparency. You know, what's going on, this is what the board is thinking, asking for community feedback. You know, I think also want to be careful of making sure that whatever social media is happening with the board is it's productive for the growth of the community and for the students, and making sure that that focus is there. For staff members and teachers, again, I just always representing yourself, making sure that you know that you are a role model, and not just teachers, but parents, community members, staff members. The kids are watching. And so if we are talking in a certain way on social media, children are reading that and they are getting that message. And then that message is coming out with other children in schools, and it could be causing other problems if there, you know, is tension or an issue. So I think it's super important to really think. I also think it's important to remember face-to-face connection is more powerful than social media, in my opinion. I think we need that interpersonal connection to come back, and less on screens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I just want to check in with Corey. Were you able to call in? I don't know what, yeah?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Great,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
That's okay. So do you need the question repeated, or are you good?
Please, if you don't mind.
Scott, sorry.
Yep, just got to find that mute button. Okay. With all the issues related to social media, what are your thoughts on social media usage for yourself, as well as for usage by the board, administration, teachers, and students?
I encourage the use of social media. I think that just as I talk to my kids about social media, that there has to be some level of ethics and some code of ethics when you're approaching it. You're leaving a digital footprint. I think it's good for the district in terms of having access to social media, because even recently in the time of COVID-19, including the summer, there's been a lot of communication coming from the school that is coming over social media that actually is very helpful. So I think in this day and age, we have to embrace it, but we just have to embrace it with a set of code of conducts, or a set of ethics, and being socially responsible when using social media. But I think it's here. It's the day and age of how we communicate, how the kids communicate, and I welcome how the district would communicate through it, because this is something that is in our everyday lives. We're constantly dealing with it. I just think that individuals, adults, children, staff, just have to approach it with a level of some type of moral, ethical approach, knowing that it's being seen by, if not thousands, possibly tens of thousands of people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Corey, you're actually going to be next up for this, first up for the question. So Francine, actually, you are up next with the question. See if we can hear her.
There we go.
Okay.
I took my hand off the space bar. It wasn't working. All right. What experiences, skills, knowledge, etc., will you bring to the position that you feel will help uplift and strengthen the relationship with the community and the employees of the district?
Just as I mentioned before, I manage, can you hear me good? Okay, just as I mentioned before, I manage a team from Florida up to Maine. With that, there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of skills, including performance reviews, budget reviews, engagement, state and federal regulatory ethics that we have to abide by. And I think that not only that helps me or will help me, but also, I'm a very committed person. I'm committed at, if joining the board, committed in being a champion for all students. I bring a sense of integrity. Anybody you could talk to would tell you that I'm a straight up guy. My integrity will help in making sure that as we're looking through budgets, we're making sure that funds are being dispersed to the right use as it should be, as well as a collaboration. I've done many community service projects since I was actually 12 years old. So I'm very good in terms of collaborating with different people of all walks and shapes of life. I'm a very good listener. I know how to agree to disagree or politely explain my position, and transparency. I feel it's important that you share your thoughts, you share your plan, you share your mythology with people so they could understand how did you come to that decision and where it came from. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Daisy Jimenez, you're up next.
Thank you. Francine, can I just ask if you can repeat the question again, please?
Of course. What past experiences, skills, knowledge, etc., will you bring to the position that you feel will help uplift and strengthen the relationship with the community and the employees of the district?
Thank you. So being that I already work in the community, I feel like I already can hear what their needs are. I feel that with my background, being that I am a social worker, I am able to be empathetic, passionate, and wanting to address their needs. Especially right now with the digital learning, one of the concerns that I have is the social emotional piece.
Daisy, hold on. We lost you there. We lost you at social emotional.
More.
And that's technology today. Just frozen. Is that not just me?
Who are you asking is frozen?
Is Daisy frozen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Daisy, if you can hear, yeah, log off and come back on. There she, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We lost you at.
Would you like me to pick?
Oh, wait.
Would you continue where I was cut off, or would you like me to restart?
Where's Chris? Maybe just restart, and Chris, if you could just allow her to start over. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So because I work in the community, I feel like I have the opportunity to already know what our community needs. Also, I feel with my background in social work, again, I bring in those ethical standards. I'm here. I want to be able to be a voice for our community, just like what I'm doing now when I'm helping, advocating my clients so they can receive the services that they need, educate them on things that they may not be aware of. One thing that I have really enjoyed watching the district do is bringing also our Latino community together, having more bilingual teachers, receiving the information both in Spanish and English, and I feel having someone also on the board that can communicate in their language will be also a very essential.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Amy Taninga, you're up next.
Right, thank you. So one of the things that I do is I build partnerships, and there's lots of community organizations and great businesses in our community that I think we could engage for additional opportunities for the students in the school district. And I think those are untapped opportunities as of right now. That's something that I do. I develop new programs and and build some of these things. I'm very objective as a scientist, so I gather information. I gather not just quantitative information in the way of data and statistics, but also qualitative information in the way of surveys and taking a pulse of how people are feeling, and so that you can use all of this information together in a nice, clean context in order to make informed decisions. So I help with that. And I'm very collaborative in fundraising. I raise large-scale funds for the projects that I oversee. And so I know how to do the grant writing, but also where the sources of funding might come from and some things that maybe the school district hasn't explored before. So that would bring new opportunity as well for the students.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Leonore Volpe.
Hi, working in the school district, I have the insight of what I worked in the transportation department. So I've had state aid compliance and data, workman's compensation. I've done bid process and procurement, fleet replacement, cooperative busing, field trip contracting. I can bring all of this into the board and just help with the budget, overviewing the budget and everything. I've done employee appraisals, non-public and out-of-district transportation requests. I've dealt with the public dealing with transportation, where transportation, school bus drivers are the first ones to see the students and the last ones to see the students. I've spoken to the parents and listened to any of the issues that they've had on busing and have adjusted to any of the requests that the parents had asked for. I also was a den mother, PTA president. So I've dealt with a lot of the public and community. And as well, I can bring some Spanish. I'm a Spanish speaker, and I can also help with the Spanish community as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jason Whitehead.
Hi, yes. My job right now is I'm part of a team that advises the Westchester County Executive on all issues of county government, appellate, trial and appellate litigation, and family court matters. Whatever the issue is, I am trained to, even if I've never dealt with the issue before, I'm trained to find out what the law is, gather all the relevant facts, talk to all interested parties, and consult with my colleagues, people who have more experience than I do, people who may have dealt with the particular issue, and render a decision. And I do that in conjunction with a team of people. As a prosecutor in the Bronx, I was in charge of really people's liberty. You know, I would sit down with police officers on a day-to-day basis, listen to the police officers, what happened, and I would write up either misdemeanor or felony complaint, basically charging someone with a crime and taking away that person's liberty. That was a huge, huge deal to have somebody's liberty in your hands. So I would bring all those skills. Again, I may not know, have a particular experience in one area, but I'm given new projects all the time by my boss, George Latimer, by my boss under him, John Nona, and whatever it is, no matter if I know it or not, I can find out what it is because that's what I've been trained to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia Fox.
I have served on different task forces. I was on the problem solving task force a few years ago when we were really just looking at a way to, raise what the community needs. And I spoke so much about how we need to make sure we break down barriers that cause divisions in our community, racial divisions, language divisions, learning divisions, and what are those barriers and how do we get through those? So just a very proactive problem-solving approach is needed for so many different reasons, especially with what's going on right now. I'm also currently on the teaching and learning subcommittee of the reopening task force. So I've been working with an incredible group of people all summer long, just really reflecting on distance learning and, what went well in the spring and what we need to do better if we need to continue in this format in some way. We're also looking at, what the hybrid model might look like and what all in would look like. and I'm also on the equity task force. So just thinking about where we can go to bring everyone together and making sure we're really defining what equity means for all children and all learners, and making sure everybody has their opportunity. So I'd be happy to bring that to the board. I also have been to almost every board meeting for the past 3 years, and I've been listening and hearing you and know, you know, what you've been working on. And I've spoken about mental health counselors and making sure that we, you know, keep moving forward in the direction that the district has been going the past few years. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Alejandra Gill.
Thank you. So in terms of my personal background, I think I can bring a unique perspective to the board. I was actually born in New York, but my family moved to Puerto Rico when I was 5. And that's where I started, you know, I went into kindergarten, and I wasn't fluent in Spanish, and I was enrolled in a school that was taught in Spanish. But I had a bilingual teacher that worked with me, and I became fluent very quickly. And I think that was integral to my ability to become bilingual, to excel in the school system there. And I know that work with our English learners is essential with the board right now. I realize that we're not in compliance in terms of integration of English language learners in all of our grades. And I'd be interested in contributing to that discussion. And also, like Jason, I'm an attorney by trade, and my job every day is to take an issue that I may not be familiar with and research it and figure out the arguments for and against it. And I think in the current climate, that it really would make me an asset to the board. We need to be aware of the fact that we're a community that has a lot of law enforcement families. And when approaching these equity discussions, we need to keep their perspective in mind and get them involved, because they have children in the district, and their children might hear rhetoric that may not be so favorable for our law enforcement community. And just working with the other side, working with all sides, is something that I have to do on a daily basis. And like Leonore and Daisy, I'm also bilingual. Well, I mentioned that already. So in terms of, you know, I know one of the board goals for 2019-2020 was to increase communication with all constituents and be more of a presence within the community. And I think any board member that can speak Spanish can certainly facilitate that. And also, you know, my family is involved with the VFW, with the Elks, with soccer. So there are different kind of pockets of the community that I think that I could help with outreach. Oh, and Cub Scouts too. We're involved in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we now move on to question number 4. Daisy, you're going to be up first for the question. And Eric, you're up.
Great, thank you. So while our budget has been approved by the community, a number of factors, including the continuing costs of operating safely during COVID-19 and uncertain state aid, make this a very uncertain year financially. Which types of budget-friendly measures would you support, and which areas of operation are too critical to possibly be reduced or eliminated?
I think definitely just touching base on like the mental health. I mean, our students are going to be needing a lot of emotional and social support, especially our elementary and intermediate schools. I mean, I know just with seeing my 4-year-old daughter, she was very active in school. She was doing sports, and when everything shut down, as much as involvement we were trying to have her at least in our home, it was very difficult. And by speaking with other parents, I was hearing the same things. So I think integrating the psychologists into the school will be very helpful. Also, providing more support for the teachers. I know the teachers did so much this year with having to transition from in-class learning to now digital learning, and some teachers having difficulty communicating with with their students. I think that's also going to be something that we should look at also. In terms of the budget itself, again, this is very new to me. I may not have all the information regarding our budget, but believe me that I am willing to learn and be more active in understanding the cost of everything that it is. Just from speaking with different community members and hearing the need that when entering school and how everything is costly, I know will definitely impact our budget.
Thank you. Okay, Amy Taninga.
Hi, yeah, so this is a very difficult question because there's so many uncertainties. There's so many variables that we don't know which way things are going to go. Are we going to be in school? Are we going to be at home? Are we going to have a hybrid situation? I think, you know, busing could go one of two ways. We could save because people don't want their children on buses, or it could cost more because we need twice as many buses. Same with the cafeteria. Maybe parents don't want children eating in the cafeteria and they're sending, you know, their own sandwiches from home. And so there might be some cost savings. Sports, the sporting schedule already has been changed, you know, a few times, and that may get changed yet again. So if there's a shortened season or some of the seasons are cut, we're saving some money. So I think it's really too soon to know exactly where those cost savings are going to come, and it's going to require a lot of flexibility and a lot of creativity and on-the-spot decision making. So you know, I agree mental health is very important. I agree a lot of these activities are very important to continuing to engage students, but I think we need to think outside the box of new ways for engagement as well, or safer ways of engaging in sporting activities that might function a little bit differently than they have in the past, or new kinds of sports. Than what had been offered in the past. So I can't say for sure, you know, this is something that we should cut and this is something we can keep. We have to know how we're operating first and under what kinds of circumstances. But all of these things could go one of many different ways. And I think it's going to require a lot of information pulled together and a lot of careful thought. It's going to require some time, I think. So I'm sorry, it's not a pat answer, but those are the things that I consider.
Great, thank you. Leonora Volpe.
Hi, I agree with Miss Amy. It is with the state not knowing what to do and what money they're going to give to the school. We don't even know where we stand. And it's great that the budget had passed, but there's still so much unknown. As far as August 7th, we hopefully know what's going on in trying to figure out whether we're going to be busing the students or not, or even having hybrid learning. I also agree with Daisy as far as the mental health. I think that is a great program that should continue. As far as the budget is concerned, I can't even express any information until we know what the state it will give, what state aid would be. It can change at any time. And so it's a difficult question to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jason Whitehead.
Hi. What I think is indispensable is us taking away, the district taking away any money from the goals of the strategic coherence plan. I think no matter what happens, we need to stay on a target for the SCP and make sure that we are continuing to push our students for critical thinking, perseverance, civic responsibility, collaborative communication, and adaptability. So no matter what happens, we need to continue on that path. The district has done so much over the last 5 years in pushing, first of all, in coming up with the SCP and doing all the works that the teachers, the administrators, the superintendent, the board has done. So no matter what happens, we really need to stay on target. I believe in another year or so, we're going to be doing a continuation seeing where we are and continuing our strategic coherence plan. And to me, that's indispensable no matter what happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and next up is Cynthia Fox.
Cynthia, you're still muted.
Oh yeah, thank you, Carrie. I was trying to see if.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, you know, going into this in the fall, not knowing, there's so many uncertainties, and there, you know, anxiety is really high for parents, for students, for staff. And I think we can reflect on what happened in the spring and how we can make that better for whatever situation we're in the fall. I think no matter what, like other panelists had said, we need to really think about the mental health of our children, our families, and also knowing that that may look different for different students, different families, you know, thinking about whatever their situation might be, how they might have been affected by COVID, or, you know, was there another situation that might have happened in the family? The school needs to communicate with that. So I think communication with families, parents need resources of how to coach their child if they are in distance learning. I think we also need to think about, there will be more children if we are not all in, if there's a hybrid model or an at-home model. More children might be in daycare. So how do we connect with the daycares in the community, or the different kind of child care services that children might be in? And how do we make sure that learning is still equitable? I really commend the district in the spring for sending every child home with a Chromebook ready to log on into Google Classroom. You were a model for other districts in doing that. They did a great job with the asynchronous. If we have a hybrid model, we need more live teaching. These are just things that I have spoke about, just to make sure that every child is feeling connected with their teacher and their classmates. So that doesn't, I don't think that would really cost anything. We just have to make sure that whatever we're doing, that we're improving. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alejandra Gill.
So I hate to repeat what other people are saying, but this is kind of an impossible question right now, not knowing what the school year is going to look like. Are we going to have part-time school? Are we going to have to modify our classrooms to allow more space between the students, or are we going to have split shifts? I mean, all of that needs to be taken into consideration. Right now, I believe our budget for facilities is approximately 3%. That's more than curriculum, assessment, and instruction. So if we're not going to have all the children in the school at the same time, then maybe facilities is an area where we can cut back on and allow for other resources that we're going to need, such as emotional, social support for students that need it. Transportation is another issue. Like I believe Amy mentioned, if we're not all using the buses, then maybe that's a department that we can cut back on. But it just seems like with so many factors kind of up in the air right now, it's really hard to make a determination as to where we can cut back. We need to support our teachers. We need to make sure that their benefits are covered for potential sicknesses, sick days, all of that, if we're going to be having them present in the classroom. You know, but I agree, we need to stick with the curriculum improvements and instruction. That's the most important thing for the progress of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. And Corey Hart, you're up next.
Thank you. So I agree with all my colleagues, all the candidates are saying. I think in anticipation of possible state aid cuts, we got to try our best to advocate for it to have minimal effect on student programs. You know, we got to try to maximize without sacrificing quality. Can you hear me?
You're a little delayed.
Sorry, can you hear me?
We hear you. You're a little delayed.
Sonia?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So again, my thing is, without sacrificing quality, maybe look to involve the community, tap into the community.
We kind of hear you there.
Okay. So I was saying maybe create some committees within the community to seek out ideas, see how can we look at some of our realized savings from the budget and see how we can reallocate them. I think, we don't want to sacrifice funds that's allocated to certain students such as special needs. As it stands right now, I know it seems like they're struggling in this environment. So we don't want to take any resources away from that. But the best thing to do is, without sacrificing quality, look at a way to see what can we do to reallocate some of the savings that's realized. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So now we move on to question 5. And so Amy Taninga, you're going to be up first. And this question is mine. So 1 second. A school board has to work as a team, which will mean at times we may not all agree. Please share how you would work to help bring us together on an issue, but others on the board don't, or when you may disagree with the superintendent or members of the community.
So
Did you hear that whole question? Because it was a little garbled for me. Was it just me?
No, it broke up a little.
Technology.
You want me to read it again, or you want to try it again?
Carrie, go ahead.
Okay, so let me just read it one more time so it's clear. A school board has to work as a team, which will mean at times we may not all agree. Please share how you would work to help bring us together on an issue, especially at times when you may believe strongly in your position, but others on the board don't, or when you may disagree with the superintendent or members of the community.
That's a great question. And one of my programs is all about teams. It's called the Green Teams program. And so I have a lot of experience with teams and people coming from different disciplines, different backgrounds. And one thing that kind of calms people down a little bit so they can hear each other is when you share something about each other that you think is an asset to the problem at hand. And so when people feel that they are being valued and bringing something to the table that's important, all of a sudden people are listening to each other more, and you're talking about the issues and not putting up barriers. So conflict resolution is a big piece of what we do on these teams. And realizing that you don't always have to agree. And sometimes it's more powerful if you take a step back so that someone else can take a step forward. And so you may not always have your way, but as a team, you're stronger and you're more successful and more productive. And so, if I disagree with the superintendent, that may be one of those times where I can see the greater benefit to the community, even though personally I may not be in favor. And so it may be one of those times where taking a step back is the right thing to do as a group, as a community, as a team. And so I think when people get to that place where they feel heard and they feel comfortable asking questions and challenging each other, that's when you're the most productive.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Leonor Volpe.
Hi. There's no I in team. As far as trying to to make your point of view, I think everyone should put it down in paper and then put it on a board and just and look at everyone's viewpoint and then decide on what's conducive to the whole community. I believe that if we tackle and put everyone's opinion up front, it might not come out. Okay, let me rephrase that. With as far as a team member, I would like to listen to everyone's opinion and not only mine. It's even if I disagree with it, it doesn't necessarily mean that my opinion is correct. It would have to be something that I would agree upon, and like Amy had said, and I hate to say, repeat is a constant repeat. But if I disagree with the superintendent, I have to sit myself back and listen to what everyone is saying, and then decide what's best for the community and for the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Whitehead.
Hi. As I explained before, as a prosecutor in the Bronx, I sat down with members of the NYPD and some great men and women, and we had to hash out what we were going to charge in certain cases. And I didn't always agree with the police officers. Sometimes a detective, whatever, didn't agree with me. But we had to work together to come to a conclusion. And a big thing about that is perspectives. I had to realize and recognize that police officers had a certain perspective. I wasn't out there on the streets with them. I had never been out there. Yeah, I may have gone on a tour with the police officers, but I wasn't out there in the street with them. I had to think about that and realize that. So when they would come to me and give me a situation, I'd put myself in their shoes. You know, we worked together. We worked together as a team in the Bronx. I worked for a judge after my 8 years in the Bronx as a prosecutor, and legal issues would come up constantly, of course, because we was a trial and hearing part. That's all we did with trials and hearings, trials and suppression hearings. Issues would come up, and I would have to research them, and I would have to go to my judge and say, this is what I found, this is what I think it is. A lot of times he would tell me, I'm not convinced, Jason, I'm not convinced. So I'd have to go and do more research. I'd have to go talk to my colleagues, go to talk to the judges. So we were always kind of massaging and doing things to get to the right answer. Why? Because we had people's lives in our hands. We had people's lives in our hands. People were going to go to jail for things that they did, or, you know, some of the things that they did. So it was always, you're always trying to figure out what's the best thing to do, and you're always collaborating and going back and forth. In my current job, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. So it's really, it's not about my personal feelings. It's about what's best for the community. It's about getting everybody's input. Again, like John Stuart Mill, you can't just, everybody has to give their input, and then we come to a conclusion. We come to a conclusion. Whether or not we disagree, it's for the betterment and the greater good of the community, not about how I personally feel. As long as I've put my personal feelings out there, then we come to a conclusion as a group. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Cynthia Fox.
I think it's really important as a board member to be a really good listener. And to listen is, you know, to listen with empathy and listen with understanding. And like Jason was saying about perspective, it's so important to step out of your own perspective and consider someone else's and where they've been. And by listening to their experiences or their stories or their ideas, that's when we do what we're always asking kids to do, is have a growth mindset and think of how we can, you know, always better ourselves and think about all the great things that the board has been doing and where can we take it from here. And somebody else's idea might enrich your idea or change your idea. And I think also, you know, again, what we teach kids is to form an opinion and support it with reasons, but then also consider the counter argument. And teaching students to do that is so important. I've sat down with 6-year-olds and they can do it. And it's important for them to grow up to be adults who can do it. And I think, you know, modeling that and showing those kind of skills at the board and communicating, collaborating that way is important. And also being able to express to the community how we collaborate and how we communicate with each other. and with the superintendent. I think it's just important to work together in making sure that we are all here for the kids, and whatever we agree or disagree on, it's all for you know, best practices and the kids at heart. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alejandra Gill.
So I think any group that has to work together to come to an agreement on something, there's obviously always going to be disagreements when the board makes its decisions and everyone renders their vote. Obviously, it's not always going to be unanimous. I think the most important thing is for everybody to explain why they're taking the position they're taking, and for everybody that's listening to really listen and try to see where they're coming from and the reason for their disagreement with you. And sometimes, you know, getting a personal perspective on why a person has a certain view will make you change your own opinion about how to best approach the situation. So I think just always have to have that open mind when approaching different issues. In my job, I disagree with clients all the time about how to handle cases, and I have to see where they're coming from. And sometimes I have to bite my tongue and just do what's best for the client, which in this case would be the children. So obviously I, as one board member, am not making any decisions on my own. Whether I personally disagree with the superintendent at the end of the day probably doesn't matter, because we're going to be making our decisions as a board. And we had to know how to pick and choose our battles. So maybe I have some strong feelings about one issue, but I know that there are issues coming up in the future that I feel more strongly about. So maybe I'll sit back on this one. And then when we get to the next issue, then maybe, you know, push my point forward a little more aggressively. But I think it's just always important to listen to everyone's point of view and try to come to some kind of agreement, even if you have to make concessions in your standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Hart.
Dr. Relocate, can you repeat the question, please?
So Carrie, can you repeat the question? And Corey, I want to make sure we can hear you okay.
Corey, why don't you just, can you hear me okay, Corey?
Can you hear me?
You're still really delayed.
Yes, I did. I hear you.
Okay, all right, let's try it. Sorry, a school board has to work. You're gonna be in every room of your house by the time. Try the teenagers' room. It always works better in there. Okay, can you hear me all right? A school board has to work as a team, which will mean at times we may not all agree. Please share how you would work to help bring us together on an issue. Wait, did you interrupt me? I'm sorry. Corey, can you hear?
Sure, so, no.
Oh. Can you hear me?
I think he hears you, it's just that he's on a delay.
All right, so let me just finish the question and then we'll see if we can hear you.
Yes,
so please share how you would work to help.
I hear you.
Please share how you would work to help bring us together on an issue, especially at times when you may believe strongly in your position, but others on the board don't, or when you may disagree with the superintendent or members of the community. Should we jump to Daisy and maybe have, oh, Corey, are you there?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I work in insurance.
Hey,
I
Corey.
negotiate every day.
Corey.
Part of negotiations is listening and hearing the other side's argument. Yeah.
Corey, I'm thinking maybe if you just call in, we won't see your face, but just call in. There's a phone number, I think, in the link in the that you received, and then you could
Yeah.
talk through just a normal phone call.
Yeah.
So just disconnect and then try to call in with that number. And then Chris, if you can see what new number pops up. Okay. So let's have Daisy answer the question, and then we'll see if Corey can call in and we'll hear him better that way.
Okay. So I also have to agree with Alejandra. I think you do pick and choose your battles. I do think that in every work area that you are in, a committee, there is going to be discussion. There's definitely going to be discussion. There may be disagreements, but that's where we come all together as a team and try to figure out what the best solution would be. In this case, again, what would be the solution to ensure our students' academic success. That would be the ultimate goal. I have been, in the past, I've also worked in an emergency room at a local hospital, and I have seen how combative some patients can be. And you being there, you being the front face, that you have to show your composure and understand that that you have to figure out a way to de-escalate the situation, because it's not going to get any better if you continue to engage in that situation. And coming now into a board discussion with the superintendent or even with another board member, knowing that ultimately if your opinion, your comment isn't at that point the most suitable, then that's okay, because you'll learn from that. And then you'll be able to gain more knowledge from learning. Being open-minded is definitely something is essential when being on the board member or any type of committee and workplace. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, was Corey able to call in? Chris, did you happen to see?
I have a new number. I'm gonna allow to talk, and we'll see if it's Corey.
Okay, Corey, is that you?
Yes, it's me.
Great, that's
Yes.
so crystal clear.
Okay. Well, one, I want to apologize to the fellow candidates and to you. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty. It's two teenagers, an 11-year-old, and a wife who are all on the computer. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. But my apologies.
Okay.
Yeah, I did hear the question. Thank you, Carrie, for repeating it. As I mentioned earlier, that one of my skill sets is negotiations. I work in insurance. I negotiate almost every other minute of the day, literally. So with that, you have to kind of know what you're walking into, what the other person's bringing, as well as being prepared. With that said, the biggest thing of that is listening, listening to the other side's point of view, understanding, being empathetic, understanding where they're coming from, and trying to make sure that you're digesting whatever anyone's saying, and then look to see if there's some way to make a compromise or make it work within the goal set of whatever you're working on, whether it's, the Board of Ed's goal sets in terms of building bridges, whether it's the district's goal sets in terms of the budget, the district's goals in terms of, seeking and hiring new administration. That's one of my leading things in terms of being very collaborative, knowing how to work with different people, knowing how to work hand in hand, setting goals and trying to make sure that everything is in line with the goals. If it's something outside of the goals, then that's another conversation in terms of trying to bring that argument or that idea back into align with the goals. So I collaborate all over the place. I coach basketball, so I'm collaborating with the young girls. I coach boys basketball. I'm collaborating with the young boys. Like I said, I participate in a number of community service events. You know, so I have a good pulse in terms of listening to people, hearing what's on their mind, digesting it, and if needed, give feedback. If not, you know, just kind of listen and see what I can do to help the cause or help out the person. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to move on to question number 6. Leonor Volpe, you're going to be up first for this question. And Carrie, I believe this is your question.
Okay, just 2 more to go, everybody. So the 6th question, Leonor, how do you, or what do you believe would be your role as a trustee? And what do you believe is the board's role in the district? And if you could also tell us what you think the district's biggest challenges are and how you would assist the board in that work.
I'm first now. As far as my role as a board, I would help with the decision making on what's going on in the district. As far as the board is also what the board stands for is to help to bring new programs into the district and help with the administration, make sure that they are doing their job. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Sure. How do you view your role as a trustee? And what do you believe is the board's role in the district? And then also if you could tell us what you think some of the district's biggest challenges are and how you would address them.
I believe that with the events that are happening now and trying to open school and this comes September, the biggest challenge is trying to get the high school in. And you have with the diversity and trying to make them enter school and have unity, as far as you have police officers that are students of police officers, and you have not as much diversity in the school, and you just, you know, all you need is a shirt that says Black Lives Matter, and a student that's a police officer might not take it the right way, and we're just trying to see how to bring unity in the high school and in the middle school, mostly because of what's going on in the social media. That's everything is out there, and how that is a difficult part of starting this new school year. And as far as the board is concerned, it's just keeping up with the education, making sure that the children are getting what they need, and keeping up with what the state is mandating the schools to do, and trying to keep it in a fiscal money and not as expensive, so to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jason Whitehead.
Hi, yes. I believe my role as a trustee is, well, picking a superintendent, but we have a superintendent, very good one, I might add. Evaluating the superintendent, and I believe the board puts forth a budget. I think some of the biggest challenges with the board is, I think it's going to be COVID-19, to returning to school. I think it's going to be diversity in faculty and administration. I think that's a biggie. And I know the school has been working towards that, but I think we have more work to do on that front. I believe there's a challenge for the board in connecting to some of our Hispanic community down in Brewster Village. I think, and I know that the board and the district has been working towards that as well, but as with a lot of things, we can always do better. I think, again, I know the board wants to have an increased presence in the community, and these are all the things that I mentioned that I think we could do to advance that. In terms of going back to the board, I think I think budget is usually already spoken for. I think there is some flexibility in the budget, but I believe the BOE may approve expenditures. But I think those are the big things. I think those are big things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cynthia Fox.
I think my role as a trustee would be to bring forth my passion for education and everything that I learned when I first started studying educational psychology, and all of my experience with teaching different children with different physical needs, emotional needs, learning needs, and how we can all work together to make sure that every child is represented and gets exactly what they need. I was also at the superintendent search open forum, and I was very vocal of what the district is going to need from a superintendent, and just from a board and from the community and staff going forward. I also feel, and I've spoken up at board meetings about the need for a dual language or foreign language in elementary school. I have a great background in early intervention, and it is so important for children to be immersed in a language at a very early age. Our preschools have it, and then our elementary school does not have it, and there's a huge gap there, and I've said it before, and I would keep fighting for that. And it's more than a language, it's a culture, and I think it's important for the board and the district, and it's also a challenge to create a culture for equity and diversity, moving past just acceptance and tolerance and empathy, but to celebrate diversity and make children want to come to school and want to say hello to everyone in the hallway and not feel like they could just say hello to certain children, and graduate and want to come back and live here and raise their families here. And I think it's just so important to think about where do we want our future to be long term, not just in the short term. I know short term is hard right now with everything going on, but long term. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alejandra Gill.
So my role as a trustee, if I were appointed, would be to work with the other members of the board to pass policies, to pass the budget, to work with the administration in implementing policies, and to do so in a way that represents all of the children of the district. The board obviously works with the superintendent within the district to, again, come up with a budget and figure out what areas maybe we need to contribute more to, where we can contribute less, and make sure that the teachers and the administration are working in the right direction to implement the goals and the policies of the board. In terms of challenges, I mean, it's a tough time to be on a board or an administrator of a school or a politician making these decisions about how we're going to proceed in the next school year. And I think it's going to be a big challenge to continue to push certain initiatives that are already in place, like the work with NYU for equity, while maybe having less of a budget to do these things and not being able to be face-to-face with members of the community to talk about these issues, because we're so reliant on Zoom now, and it's the best we can do, but I think a lot is lost when you can't have face-to-face interactions with people. So I think that's really going to be a challenge, and for us to get out into the community and make sure that everybody knows what's going on. One thing that I noticed is for our Spanish speaking families, how can they get involved with the board? Do they have the ability to submit questions in Spanish ahead of time for board meetings if they want to, if there's something that they are particularly concerned about? Are agendas and board minutes available in Spanish? So I think those are things that may that we need to address so that we can make sure that going forward in implementing whatever policies the board is working on, that everybody is involved and that everybody has a voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Hart.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm unmuted. Thank you.
Okay.
So my role as a trustee would be, to be committed to advocating for all students, to make sure that the dollars are being spent wisely for the benefit of the students as well as the district. Work with the stakeholders, including parents, administration, staff, and civics, to advocate on behalf of the district getting additional funds or looking at grants or being considered for grants, and to work to ensure that we provide like a health and safe learning environment for all students. In terms of the role of the board, I know the role of the board is to adopt an annual budget, to try to create a climate to promote educational excellence, within the community. Support the superintendent as well as if that position is vacant, seek out candidates to fill that position as well as administrations throughout the various buildings. And to develop a curriculum that and manage the curriculum that meets, federal and state mandates. I think at this time, some of the challenges, it's obvious it's the COVID-19, the classroom sizes, as well as equity. I know the COVID-19 brings a whole host of challenges, again, from differences between special needs, Spanish-speaking students, as well as students who might have some sensory issues, and how do we address that, and how do we provide the appropriate tools and technology so those people won't get lost as we're moving on. The challenges of the assessments. I know last year a lot of things were either waived or kind of postponed. So how are we going to approach that this year? Classroom sizes, I know specifically K through 8, there's challenges, looking at trying to figure out ways of looking at our space and trying to create temporary classrooms,
Sorry, I need you to wrap up your thought.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And pretty much that's it. That's good for me, Sonia. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Daisy, you're up next.
Thank you. So I definitely think that being a member of the board, it is advocating for the community. It is advocating for our students. Being open-minded and having the flexibility, knowing that you're not going to be tied down to those 2 monthly meetings. There's going to be unexpected meetings that you will need to be committed to, and it may not be what the 2 hours was stated. It may be longer, and having that commitment and flexibility is very important. And being able to the administration and this adapting the policy planning and the making is very important within being a board member. Some of the challenges that we're going to be having is definitely, again, is with the whole COVID situation, is whether or not definitely going to be a health concern for many parents, is the proper way if it is in class. Also, can you hear me? I'm sorry, Sonia. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, there's some delays. I think we're piecing it together, but there were a couple cutouts there from like challenges. Maybe if you could just repeat the challenges part.
Okay, yes. So I think some of the biggest challenges is knowing what the plan is for reentry. I know some parents have concerns about sending their kids because they may have family in their homes that are vulnerable to the COVID and maybe a risk factor for them. So definitely knowing that the community is being heard of those concerns and that they are being addressed as best as they can. And also with knowing that everybody is receiving the same education despite the circumstances and their backgrounds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we are on, no, we actually still have Amy Taninga. Sorry, I'm looking at my little chart I made here. Amy, you're up.
Okay. I would see my role as a trustee, as an advisor, a data collector, an information gatherer, a communicator, an idea generator, a community representative. I bring a scientific perspective on COVID reopening and a microbiological perspective. I would be a team member helping the district and the board to realize strategic goals through action. What I view the district's role as is to lead education and community organization while listening and incorporating community concerns and needs as they relate to education. And I think there's a lot of challenges coming up, a lot of them related to COVID. And so, you know, there's scheduling and hitting a moving target with that. I think there still needs, it's great that everyone has the technology, the Chromebooks and access, but I think there's still a little bit of support we need to provide in training teachers in accessing technology, because I think some are a little bit hesitant to use it. And we've experienced quite a diversity in this household and in the ways that different classes have been delivered. I think, you know, there's some challenges around communications and inclusion and diversity and how to incorporate that. I think it's not an add-on, right? And so it needs to be part of the curriculum. It needs to be part of examples where people are being challenged and shared best practices and the right way to say things and do things. So I think there's a lot of challenges, but I think everyone's goal is to ensure excellence in educational experience and educational opportunity and access to education, access to excellent education. So however we get there, I think there's multiple paths, but we have to take the most expedient one that the budget allows. And I think that's going to require, again, some creativity, but I think we can get there for sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we actually move on to our final question of the evening. And Jason Whitehead, you will be first up for this question. And Scott, I think you are up again.
All righty, we're almost there. Please share your vision of what success for all students means to you as a possible future board member. How would you support the work of the district regarding that vision of success in your new role?
Great question, Mr. Seaman. My vision of success for each student is that each student can come to school, feel safe, obtain a great education, be able to take different electives that feed their interests, be able to partake in a sport even though they may not be the best athlete, be able to talk to their teachers, make sure that their teachers have in-office time so that they can talk to their teachers about any challenges they may be having or any opportunities they can take advantage of. That our Spanish second language students feel comfortable coming to school, feel comfortable that they have resources at the school, somebody Spanish speaking that can engage with them. That students can come to school and see them in the school, to see people that look like them. And that goes back to diversity in teachers and administration. That students leave Brewster High School, graduate, and go on to do great things and come back and come back. And we already have that happening. I'd like to see more of that. And in my role as a trustee, I want to advocate for that. I want to advocate for more funding from the state, advocate for more funding and public and private partnerships, and be involved. Be at, you know, not just the 2 meetings a month, but the meetings that come up, that the functions at, you know, at the end of, you know, after school, the functions during the day. I'm committed to being in the school and being present and being visible along with the other board members. And finally, I have the blessing from my boss to do these things. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia Fox.
I think success for all is really moving past just, you know, student engagement and interest, but to student empowerment, and really listening to the children of who they are, what they want, who they want to be, what they need to be successful, and just giving them so many choices and teaching them how to set goals and how to, you know, have strategies to get to that goal, and giving them resources. So I think it's so important for the teachers to know, you know, how to teach as a facilitator and as a lead learner, and how to make sure that they are giving students all resources that they can, and involving the community and making sure that, you know, that the students know that they have resources beyond just the school, and the school can make that happen. And again, like Jason said, having them want to come back, and, you know, if they don't come back, just having them share all that they've learned with wherever that they're going, and just be the best that they can be. And I think just giving them confidence to, you know, take a risk and to make a mistake and know that they're going to be supported, and that they can learn from that, and someone else can learn from them, and that they are a community. I think it's just so important for them to leave Brewster becoming a lifelong learner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alejandra Gill.
So I think success for all students means that every student that goes through our district does so with a sense of confidence that they can do whatever they want. If a little girl in kindergarten wants to grow up to be an attorney, regardless of whether, you know, she comes from a Spanish-speaking family or an English-speaking family, whether she's in the village or someplace else, that she feels that the school is providing the resources to do that. That if someone wants to graduate and become a mechanic, that the school is supporting them in pursuing that career path. That students aren't being told by guidance counselors, no, you shouldn't apply to that school, you know, it's a reach school. We really need to support our students' decisions and choices in every way we can, whether it be through the teachers, whether it be through events maybe hosted by the PTA, policies passed by the board, just making sure that every student can find their place in our district. For some students, sports is important. For other students, it's not. And we need to support those students that maybe have an interest in the arts, whether it be playing an instrument or whatever it is, whatever interest they have, we should have something where they can hone their skills and pursue those interests. I think we can do that by offering more extracurricular activities. You know, maybe there are ways that we can expand the curriculum to do that as well. But I think the most important thing is that that every student in the district feels that they have opportunity, that they have someone that's in their corner. And I agree with Jason that representation within the staff, within the board, for all students is important. And you know, it's not an easy task given the diversity of students in our district, but I think we need to be able to say that we're making our best effort to get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Hart.
Thank you. So what success looks like for me is for the students to feel that, you know, Brewster is a healthy and safe, you know, promotes a healthy and safe learning environment. You know, there's teachers, there's staff that challenge them, take them on as role models, that they're looking up to our staff, and our staff is actually giving them the opportunity to explore different things, to allow them to think critically, allow them to deal with the community, allow them to actually take risks, take a couple of risks outside the bubble or their comfort zone. The ability to, you know, do that, I think they could do that by taking different elective classes, such as trades or the arts or the sports. My kids have learned so much by being involved in the arts as well as in sports. It gave them the ability to get outside of their comfort zone and take chances, learn how to deal with people, and learn a new trade. I think the more we promote that, the more we'll be able to develop students in not only making social contributions, but also making, you know, contributions, bringing contributions back to the Brewster community. You know, I think another way of doing that is probably having like a career day, you know, engaging some of our senior citizens. The only time they seem to be involved is the day they're voting. But let the senior citizens kind of see what they're contributing to, what their tax dollars are doing. So that's how I kind of see the success, is that the children understanding that Brewster School District is one for all and all for one. Thank you.
Thank you. Daisy Jimenez Vasquez.
Can you just repeat that question one more time, please?
Okay. Please share your vision of what success for all students means to you as a possible future board member. How would you support the work of the district regarding that vision of success in your new role?
So I definitely think that teachers are a big part of the children's success. One of the reasons that I went into social work was a big, Miss Lodge had a big impact in that decision of being a social worker. She believed in me, and all my other teachers there believed that I had potential. And I grabbed onto that. And our students, I know they have great teachers, and having that ability to gain that communication, that trust with them, will enable them to have a great success. And also for children to have life skills. I know some of our students may not know about budgeting, and that is something very important to learn at such an early age about budgeting. And also being able to ensure that no matter the diverse society, all the students will receive the education that they deserve. So I'm gonna leave it with that.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Amy Taninga.
Hi. Yeah, so I think that success requires both collective effort and also an individual inspiration. So students can be successful when they're excited about learning and exploring, and each student is achieving their own goals. And so they need to take a little bit of ownership of their own futures and not be afraid to fail. So we need to build in some space for teachers to have autonomy and allow students to have that experience, because if they're not failing, they're not really learning. They might be memorizing answers to Regents test, but they really need to be able to experience and fail a little bit without having severe consequences as far as a grade. So they need some of that hands-on experiential work. I think school needs to be a safe place that students want to go to have these experiences, and full of plenty of new opportunities. I think students need to be able to use what they learn to take it on the next steps in their journey, in their lifelong journey. And so this is really just, this is a foundation that we're building, and many of the students don't know who they want to be yet, or what they want to study, or what kind of job they want. But seeing what all of these different kinds of careers look like, that the only path in science isn't an MD, that there's all different kinds of jobs and things that they can do. There's lots of things that students can explore through BOCES, and all different kinds of opportunities. So I think they need to see and feel what all of those kinds of things look like, and so they can have multiple pathways to success for their future. This is a foundation toward that.
Okay, thank you. Leonor Volpe.
Hi. Every student is a success and supported by everyone they encounter, and every level is positive and engaging. Feed the mind and the soul, give them the abilities and tools to be a leader, and be happy with themselves at every level of education, regardless of their skills and in physical abilities. Also, a quote from JFK: "Children are the world's most valuable resources and its best hope for the future." We have to teach our children that also success is once you fall, and how you get up. How you get up and proceed and look forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've worked through all our questions. So at this time, we are going to allow each candidate 2 minutes for closing remarks. Anything you'd like to share for the board, you know, any last minute thoughts you have, we are here to listen to. So we're gonna start back up at the top with Cynthia. And go ahead, floor is yours.
Sure. I just want to say, you know, thank you to the board for this opportunity, for the community to get to know me a little bit and what I would offer. I definitely don't envy you. This, I think, is a huge decision. Everybody here is incredible, and I'm just so proud to be part of this community and think about how many people stepped up for this need. And I'm hoping that the board just, you know, makes a decision based on, you know, what is the best need for all of our students, no matter who it is. I honestly think you can't go wrong with any of the candidates. So I'm excited for that. And I have been involved for, you know, the past few years in task forces. I plan to continue that. I am super proud of the work that the administration and the board and the district has been doing. And I'm just excited to see where this can go. So thank you for this opportunity.
Okay. Thank you. Alejandra Gill.
I also want to thank the board members and the fellow candidates for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. This has been a real learning experience for me. The past couple of months, just participating in more meetings within the community and reading up on the work that the board and the district has been doing so far. And I just want to say while I may not have been involved as much as some of the other candidates, I'm determined to make that change now. And there are reasons in my professional, my personal life that allow me the opportunity to do that now. And I got the fire lit in me, so I'm ready to do it, and I'm ready to commit. And if I am appointed, or if I'm not appointed, I do plan on running in the fall. And this whole process has taken away some of the fear about being exposed to debates and the community and being judged by everybody. So I want to thank the board for providing us the opportunity to do this. And I wish you luck in making your decision. And either way, this won't be the last time you see me. And good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Hart.
Thank you. I want to also thank the board, for the opportunity and for hosting this forum, as well as I want to apologize for the technical difficulty that I put you guys through. But hopefully everyone understands in this day of technology, there's glitches here or there. But with that being said, just as I mentioned before, I bring a great deal of experience in terms of from my job and what I do on a day-to-day basis. I bring a great deal of experience in terms of engaging within the community in a diplomatic manner and building bridges and trying to make sure I'm advocating on both sides on behalf of the community as well as behalf of whatever organization I'm working for. This is not a one-term thing for me. If I'm lucky to get elected, I'm looking to run again this coming May 2021. I'm committed to advocating on behalf of all students. I want to be a champion for all the students. I currently work with a lot of stakeholders, and I want to continue that. I think I have a good rapport with a lot of the staff and administration that's currently within the district. So I think I bring that benefit of them being familiar with me. And, I'm effective in terms of trying to stick within goals and trying to maintain goals and make sure that they're executed. And at the same time, giving those forums for other people to provide some feedback and provide some suggestions. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Daisy Jimenez Vasquez.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the board and the fellow candidates here as well. I want to thank you all. I also just want to give a message out to the community. For me, this was, again, something that was not something I thought I was going to do. Otherwise, obviously, initially, I would have attempted in the beginning of the school year. But this is an opportunity. And when an opportunity opens, you should go for it. Take advantage of the opportunity when it's there. If it goes well, great. If it doesn't, then at least you achieved it. When I spoke to my supervisor and I also spoke to a friend of mine about this decision, that's what the encouraging words they gave me. And I went forward. I went and I did something out of my norm. And I want everyone in the community to know that this is an opportunity to have your voice heard. If you're not ready to be on the board, that's okay. That is totally okay. But we have other forms of being able to get your voice heard. And if I do get elected, I can reassure that I will be fully committed to all the obligations that come with it. And I wish you all the best of luck. And again, just to the district, because I cannot express the gratitude I feel with this district. There's a reason why I decided to move in Brewster again, raise my daughter with my husband, and be more involved. There's a reason for that. If I didn't feel that the district had potential to serve all of their community, despite the diverse cultures, I probably wouldn't be here right now sitting with you guys. But thank you so, so much. And I wish you all a very wonderful summer.
Thank you. Amy Taninga.
Hi, thank you. Thank you again to the board and for inviting me to be here and to share some of my thoughts and ideas. It is an honor. And so, I grew up, my dad was a construction worker and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I worked very hard in my classes, and I ended up in college, and I ended up going to graduate school, and I ended up with a PhD, but none of it was planned because I had no role models. I didn't know what graduate school was. And there's a technical term for having these role models, and it's called social capital. And what my hope is that the board and the school district and our community members build social capital for our students, so that they understand what all the possibilities are. And so I'm passionate about helping people to be heard, to recognize their own strengths and weaknesses, and they need to be cognizant of their weaknesses if they're something that's required in order to do what they want to do. They need to do something about that. To know what their interests are and how to set goals and how to achieve those goals. So that's really what I've spent a lot of my career doing, and in part because of the pathway that I took. And I think that people should be aware of opportunities so that they can have the choice to take the steps in order to achieve that success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next up, we have Leonor Volpe.
First, thank you to the Brewster School Board and the PTA for putting this together and allowing me to participate. I may not be a lawyer, scientist, or a banker, but I have advocated for the students and their families for over a decade with much success. I would like to continue my mission as a board trustee along with the Brewster Central School District Administration. Excellence in education, every student is success. They are not just expressions, they are commitments. And I am ready to commit to being a board trustee. Also, Maya Angelou had a saying that I enjoy. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. And I had this opportunity to be to try and be on the board. And so I would like to be part of the change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jason Whitehead.
Hi. It may not have come out, but I'm not a great speaker, and I've been nervous through this whole thing. With that said, I want to thank the board, president, vice president, for giving your time to this, and even choosing to appoint two people that you could have went another direction and just waited to have an election next year. With that said, my mom, she didn't have a lot, and I know I keep talking about my mom. I've gotten a greater appreciation for my mom as I've gotten older. The things that she went through, she didn't have much, but the one thing that she always gave was her time. No matter if somebody passed away, somebody needed help, she was always there, cleaning up the kitchen, washing dishes, making sure people had what they needed. Although she didn't have a big house, or she lived in a small apartment, whatever it was, she always gave her time. And that's what I've tried to do, and that's what I've done. I've coached 2 to 3 teams every year. I don't get paid for that. I do community service things through my job. I don't get paid for that. It's normally outside of work. This is something that again, you got to be involved. You got to be involved, and this district has treated my family and my sons very well. The one thing that I used to ask my sons over the last 4 or 5 years, I would just come to them and I would say, hey, we're going to move. And the response I would get from both sons were like, no, I don't want to move. I don't want to leave my friends. I don't want to leave my school. I love my school. That's a testament to the school district, how great the school district is, despite the problems, the mistakes that some of us have made. That's a testament to this district, and I'm proud. My son graduated. He's going on to the University of Delaware. So many opportunities that this district has given my son, and is giving my younger son. And I may not have expertise in a lot of things, but I'm going to give my time. I'm willing to give my time. I'm willing to be there to show up like I have been. Thank you to you all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for getting through the night, getting through all the questions, for sharing all your thoughts. And just like to repeat the information earlier. Can you hear me?
You were a little garbled there for a while, but you got better at the end. Try again.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I'll try to be quick because I also have issues with technology. No? Okay, so just to recap a few things I said earlier when we started off, the community can go to there's a link to trustee search, and from there there's a tab you can click to enter your comments for the board's consideration. And August 4th to do this. And then the tab will close at the end of the day, August 4th. The board will be meeting on August 11th in executive session to decide who our final two candidates will be. And that will be publicly announced at the August 18th meeting, at which time the two candidates will be sworn in. And I just want to ask if any of the other, if Carrie, did you have anything you wanted to add, or anyone else from the board? I think I covered everything. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I would just repeat real quickly what you said at the beginning because you were a little garbled, is that if the community wants to make a comment, the link is on the Board of Education's website. I think the rest of it, everybody heard.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the board? Any last minute things? Did I cover it all? Okay, so again, just thank you to all the candidates and for getting through the night, and the community who went to watch and or listen, and for your support in this process. And I guess motion to end the meeting.
Did you say you need a motion?
I think so, just in case, let's be safe.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
To end the meeting. Okay, Carrie, thank you. In a second.
I'll second that motion.
Scott,
No, I'll let Eric can have that one.
No, it's already done.
No, please.
Okay, Scott, you get the motion, but now I just need to know all those who are in favor to close the meeting. And Eric, I'll let you go first.
No, thank you. Yes.
Francine?
Yes.
Okay, Carrie?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And myself, Sonia, yes. So we are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Good night, all. Thank you.
To everybody.
Good night. Thank you all.
Good night. Thank you.